Hello, everybody. We are here for Morning Thoughts. I'm Madison Crews. I am here with Abe Gordon, who does all things everything Atlanta United for 92.9 The Game. So, Abe, how have you been this morning?
Yeah, we're doing well. I was hosting a show last night. I'm like, yo, we're like under a week until this thing gets started for real, for real. So, very excited as we move towards, the opening game of the season.
Oh, yeah. Opening game is going to be Miami and Real Salt Lake. Are you going to be tuning in for that one?
I'll try to. I think it's when I'm going to be on. I go to weekly trivia nights. So, actually, I'm hosting that night. So I might be trying to sneak a couple peeks while hosting and see what's going on there. But yeah, it's snuck up pretty quick. I mean, shoot, Miami was halfway around the world just like a couple days ago. Now they're back at it. So hope the long flights maybe affect them a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. And I think they will because of just how much they traveled. I know that we did all the numbers and everything. I mean, it's crazy what the flight pattern and everything that they did. So, I couldn't do it. That's for sure. I would not be able to do it. But looking ahead, speaking of which, I mean, we have this week leading up to this weekend where Columbus will be facing off against Atlanta United for the first game of the MLS season. What are your expectations for that game?
Well, a couple of things, like the just storyline wise, you're talking about like the team that ended your season last year. And so there's obviously a little bit of a get back from that perspective. So it'll feel good. Hopefully if you can go in and get some results. But there's a lot of questions that you had to answer a year ago that maybe can encapsulate in just the opening game. And that starts off with, can you secure points on the road? And certainly you have to see how the game plays out. Do you grab a lead? Or are you playing from behind? Those different things. You know, if you have a lead, are you able to hold on to it this year as opposed to what we saw a lot of last year? And then the other question for me, well, I mean, there's a lot of aspects here. I know we got like the refereeing situation, which might be a mess all on its own. But the thing for me is Thiago Almada has not been with this team throughout the entirety of this preseason for the most part. Obviously, he helped lead Argentina to the 2024 Paris Olympics. So congratulations to him on that front. But there are some new pieces that he's going to be playing with, and he's going to have minimal action with them leading up to the season. Obviously, he's such an important part of what United's going to do in the attack. I am looking forward to see how the chemistry is kind of in his first run with the team. And same thing with Yakamakis a little bit, who has been limited here and there in training. I just want to see as much chemistry as possible. And when you have new pieces in the back, communication is going to be key. We can dive into what we saw out of Sporting Kansas City and the closed door match, but obviously having Guzan back there, you do kind of wonder if the communication he can provide. Maybe that's why he got the lead in this goalkeeping competition, because you do have some new defenders back there. And you can't have any screw ups, especially not when you're going against a team the quality of Columbus.
Absolutely. And you mentioned too, Almada maybe not getting the start this weekend, possibly a little bit more tired. Do you see maybe someone like Nick Firmino stepping into that spot for this first match, or do you expect to see Almada starting there?
I would expect to see him starting there. You don't have a crazy schedule here to start the season, so he may have been down for some training, and even after the game, you may hold him down. But he's in good form right now. I think we saw that, in the lead up, especially that match against Brazil that sent them into the Olympics. He's in a good form right now. I understand the question, but you're at the start of the season. It's a road match against a good team. You can't throw out anyone that's not part of your top 11. So I do expect him to go. He has traveled a little bit, but he's been back here now. He should have enough time to recover the legs. I expect him to go. I'd be pretty surprised if he doesn't.
Now, speaking of the starting 11, who would you want to see in this starting 11 starting off against Columbus? Like, in your mind, who is the ideal 11 that we're going to see?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you switch out probably Firmino, maybe he probably goes off and you bring in Almada there. And then Yakamakis ideally up top is back healthy. But I think what we saw from the majority of the preseason matches is probably it. The only other question I would have is who's lining locking up with Gregerson as your center back. I mean, there were a couple of options with Abram and Hernandez and even Cobb, who looked outstanding. So that's going to be the one question for me. We've seen Hernandez often, so I do wonder if just as you're working Gregerson in, as you're trying to work on communication, as we mentioned, stuff like that, I do wonder if they go with a little bit more of the experience that he can provide, and then as things get settled, maybe they decide to go a different route. But I'm really looking forward to it. I mean, I think this team has incredible potential. I think Brooks Lennon is like one of the league's best kept secrets. And we know about him here in Atlanta. Like, we talk about, like, how is this guy not getting like men's national team call ups? Like, it's no secret here, but around the league, like when it was Julian Gressel, there was a lot of discussion. I think a lot of people were witness to what Gressel was providing for Joseph Martinez. I don't think that Brooks Lennon is getting anywhere near that amount of credit. And I think he's an outstanding player. And so, if Guzan's not the captain, he would be the guy I would give the armband to. And so I love what he's got. I think Caleb Wiley has taken some real steps forward in the last 18 months. So excited about him. And I think the additions late last year, Lob Janitsa, Tristan Moyamba, I mean, they are huge, huge players that are stepping into this lineup. And Moyamba especially, I think, gives this team it really on all aspects. Yes, in the attack, also defending in the transition. Like, he's just such an integral player. He's one of the few guys out of the the back part of the team that will run at defenders, and that's going to create more for the guys above him. So I think he's integral as well. This is a really good team. This is a good team that we saw was near the league lead in goals a year ago, and Giakoumakis was only a couple off of the golden boot. And if he's healthy the whole season, who knows, maybe he's able to bang that home. So I expect them to score a lot. The question, just similar to last season, is will they be able to hold the leads that they had? Will they be able to defend properly? And obviously Miles Robinson was not good last year. Just being honest. I mean, the hopes were high, but coming off that injury, he was not at his best. And so can Gregerson come in and kind of settle things back in front of the goalkeeper? I think he can. I mean, he's a big, physically imposing guy that gets in the way. Now, ideally, we don't give him as many one-on-ones as Miles had to defend. But I feel pretty good about where this team is. Like, I know they're the defending champs and all that, but like, I'm expecting United to go into Columbus and get a result. I really am.
And I mean, we kind of mentioned it earlier too. Last season, especially with United, a huge issue was keeping the lead and then losing it, and also losing a lot on the road. I think having this first game being on the road is going to be a true test to this side, and see how they can perform under that pressure, especially going to Columbus, who knocked you out in the first round of the playoffs, and just kind of getting to see what that result is going to be. It's a good challenge.
So a couple things here. And you start out with the idea that it's a road game against a good team. So just from the start, if you don't get a result, that's okay. Like it'd feel much worse if you didn't get a result at home. So anything you do get against that team feels like a bonus. Certainly if it's a draw, you take your point and you move forward with it. But I mean, you look at most teams around the league going into Columbus, they're probably not expecting much. So anything you can get is a bonus. If it happens to be all 3 points, you start out with a bang, you've got momentum, and you turn things into to roll into game number 2, game number 3. But yeah, I think it is the chance to send a message to the players themselves, but also to the fan base that this season's going to be different. And I think you get to do that right off the bat, which is really important. And no offense to any of the other teams that I could name that are a little less than. But going into that environment, if you were to beat whoever you want it to be, and coming away with 3 points, fine, right? It's a good start to the season, but doing it against Columbus is a slightly different message. And so, we're sitting here watching the Braves down in spring training, and they've got this mentality of World Series or bust. And you've got multiple different ways of saying that. But ultimately that's where their head's at. It's like, we got to win a title this year. Like, enough of this. And it kind of, not that United's backs up against the wall in the same manner, but it does kind of feel that way, that like last year didn't go our way, but we are good enough, and we're going to prove it in game 1. And so having the opportunity to do it on the road, do it against the defending champs. Like, it really is just like a marker to set your season by, because if you can go there, and even if it's just 1 point, like, you really hold your heads high coming home, and feel pretty good about the remainder of the season. And like you said, one game doesn't mean everything's solved for the rest of the season, but you certainly don't want to go there, hold a 2-0 lead after 45, and then give it up. And so if there's a situation where you're in that, like, just do the things you didn't do a year ago and you feel good coming home.
Absolutely. I'm excited for this game. When I saw it was Columbus, "Ooh," I was like, "This might be a good one." So, I'm excited for this game. I'm excited for MLS to be back because it's gonna be a lot of fun, and I'm just excited about it.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like it's been a long off season this year, and maybe it's because United had the early exit, and the rest of the playoffs played on for a month longer than that. Maybe it's because I was watching all these other tournaments that were taking place, and I felt a little envious. Obviously EPL's been going on for a while, and I don't know. It did feel like a long time. The ramp up felt like a long time. And you're talking about 3-4 games for Atlanta United in a couple of weeks, and it's just like, I want these to count. Like, can we get to it? Like, enough of these weird formats, and team 1 and team 2, and we're gonna switch after 30, and there's a water break. Like, let's just get into it. And so yeah, I think all the 17s are pretty much ready to roll on this one.
And speaking of the 17s, we have to talk about the new kit. The new
Yeah.
kit, what are your thoughts on it? How do you feel about it? Have you already bought one already?
I looked at the prices, so no, I haven't bought one. I'm a poor radio man, so we'll see what happens. But look, the thing is, and I'm not like the highest fashionista in the world. I was talking about this on my show yesterday, because like Trey Young wore a $1,300 jacket to the All-Star game. I'm like, I think you take all of my clothes. If you take out the Atlanta United kits, like all the rest of my clothes, probably just 1,300 on their own. So I don't claim to be like the largest fashionista in the world. I think Atlanta United, just over the course, has done an incredible job with their jerseys. Like, I can think of one, I won't name it, that a lot of people have some issues with. A lot of people didn't like, a certain breakfast food type of jersey. But other than that, like, all of them are bangers. And this one's no different. Like, I love the slight accents of gold. And I love the phoenix that they have there. It's subtle enough that it doesn't overwhelm the jersey. And so I think that's really cool. And I can't wait to see them in it. Obviously, we got the advanced look, if you will, from a couple members of the Atlanta Hawks. So if and two guys who have very different physiques, by the way. So, like, if it can look good on like an NBA body, I'm hoping it can look good on me too. Like, that's like my biggest like positive. It looks good on them. I'll probably do all right with me too.
Absolutely. I saw the price too, and I was like, "Ooh." I was like, "I might wait until it goes on sale later on in the season, maybe the little discount codes or something." But I really love it. I think the Phoenix is so cool. The way it's like put in there, and it's the light blue, and then it's like just darker in the outline.
Which
Like,
also
I
off
love it.
center too, which
Yeah.
it makes it not the centerpiece of the kit. It's there, but like I said, it's not overwhelming. And so I think they did a lot of smart things when designing it.
Absolutely. I also love the homage to Atlanta. Like, it's a really good, I think it's a kit that has a good history, and it like explains the history well. And I feel like we have all the other kit launches too. There are some other really good ones that are out there, but I think Atlanta's does a good job of representing the history too of the town.
Yeah, for a team and a franchise, and look, this is still a very young and new franchise. You got to remember, like, the Braves, Falcons, Hawks, they were here in the 60s. And for a team to come in when they did and pay homage to the city in so many different ways, right? You've got the city in the forest kit. You've obviously got the spike. I mean, there's such a background and breadth of history of Atlanta built into what United does in less than a decade now. It has been pretty impressive to see. A lot of smart minds, a lot of time is devoted. So kudos to those within the organization that have spent, I'm sure, multiple months designing this. They probably panicked a little bit when the Hawks wore them out. It was probably too late to change course at that point. But yeah, I mean, they hit another home run with these jerseys.
Absolutely. And before I let you go, just one question. Do we think we're gonna see Columbus Crew in the Charlie Brown jerseys?
Well, Columbus Crew's doing their weird cruise miss thing. They're gonna get their rings. They're doing like a bunch of promotional stuff. So, yeah, I'm really interested to see what they do. I wonder if they have like a one-off type of jersey, and I haven't dove into full game prep on like their presentation of game day stuff, but they're obviously going to be doing a lot of special things to honor their championship. So I do wonder what they're going to do, if they're going to have special patch or special jersey, or exactly what the plans are for them for the opener. So that's going to be interesting, something to watch.
It'll be a lot of fun. Well, Abe, thank you so much again for taking time out of this morning to talk to me a little bit about Atlanta United. For those of you who don't know where they can find you, where can they find you?
Yes, you can find me on Twitter/X at Abe Gordon. It should be listed there if you're watching. And yeah, check out 92.9 The Game. We've got a pregame show, the Five Stripe Countdown, for an hour before kickoff. So it'll be for this week, 1 o'clock until 2 o'clock. And then we've got an hour post-game show as well, the full-time report. We're going to be taking questions. We'll certainly give some analysis along with my partner, Garrett Chapman. So, yeah, we've got Atlanta United covered about as much as we can. And we're really excited. And hopefully we can bring home 3 points and talk about that on Saturday.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you so much, Abe. I really appreciate it.
You got it, Madison. Thanks for having me.